Appreciate you guys being here, really do. Looks like the weather's turning for us for spring ball, which will be great. Obviously excited about getting on the field. I think we've had a really good winter training period with our guys. We tested extremely well. I know you guys got a chance to meet with Coach Galt. I know that's always great access for you guys and valuable, but it was good for us too. We were able to kind of get an idea where we're at. We're obviously young. We got a lot of question marks, obviously, with some of the guys that we've lost. But I also think there's a lot of excitement as well. It's interesting, just like you guys, you kind of go over returning starters and kind of going over all my stats, so I have my answers ready for you guys and all that kind of stuff. But we also have some kind of interesting situations too, where you got a guy like Micah Parsons, who wasn't really a starter last year, but led us in tackles. So I think sometimes some of the stats can be a little, probably not as clear. Don't tell the story exactly the way it is, but we're excited. I don't think there's any doubt about it. A couple things just to be aware of. I think some of the stuff you guys probably are. Some things I'm probably going to visit with you guys Wednesday after practice, once I've cleared some things up as well. But I think most of you guys are aware of Mac Hammer's playing baseball. That was, as you guys know, through the recruiting process, that was always part of the conversation with Mac. He split time last year, which we all know is hard to do. It's hard to just be a Penn State student alone, and then to try to do Penn State and football and school at the same time. That's very challenging. So had a lot of discussions, and he's going to concentrate on baseball full time this spring, and had a lot of conversations with Cooper, and is doing a really nice job. So I don't want you guys to come out to practice and wonder where he's at. That's what he's doing, is playing baseball. He's Bo Jackson for us. Some positional changes, which I think you guys are aware of, is CJ Thorpe did an unbelievable job for us in terms of we had a need. Some size, some veteran experience that we needed on the defensive line, so we were able to move him over. We really believe that CJ's got an unbelievable ceiling when it comes to being an elite offensive lineman. So we've moved him back over while he kind of allowed us to create some depth and gain some maturity. Good, thank you. And gain some maturity there, but we think for our team and for CJ, we think he's got a very, very bright future. Brings some physicality. We went back and watched cut-ups from early in the season, and we missed that on the offensive side of the ball, so excited about that. The other thing is Grayson Klein is a young man that we've moved to the tight end position to create a little bit more depth there. So he's moved over. Chris just walked out because sometimes you guys ask me questions and I want to answer the question, but sometimes the timing isn't right. So we've been trying to get in touch with somebody because I want to be respectful of the family and their privacy. But something again that I didn't want you guys to come out to practice and question where somebody was. Without getting into specifics and details of this, and I'd ask you please to respect the privacy of the family, but Juice Scruggs gotten a car accident and will be out for spring ball. Will be out of spring ball, so I didn't want you guys wondering where he was at. But again, I don't want to answer this question in the press conference, and if you guys ask me and I haven't talked to Juice's mom, and I haven't talked to Juice and make sure that they're comfortable with me releasing that personal information publicly. But I also knew I was going to probably get asked the question, and you guys are going to be wondering. So sometimes when I'm trying to kind of balance out of that respect for the kid and the family, but also give you guys what you're looking for as well. So that's why Chris just walked out. We were able to get in touch with him and his family and clear some of that up. So I wanted to cover some of those things. Kind of our objectives for the spring. I think confidence and chemistry is a huge deal for us. We're going to work very hard at that this spring. Offensive ball security, defensive ball disruption. I think we played really good defensive football around here the last couple of years. I think one of the things that can really help us is if we could do a better job of creating turnovers. That is a huge stat for us, and we're going to really put an emphasis on that. The good thing about that is we weren't as good this past year offensively in protecting the football. We've done a really good job of that over my history of being a head coach. So I actually think the emphasis on defense will actually help us on offense as well by those guys going against each other and challenging with strips and things like that. We'll do more of that in practice. Always want to teach situational football. I'm a huge believer in that. 2-minute, 4-minute, backed up, red zone, coming out, all the different special team situations. Continue to teach our guys about the why, so it's not just memorizing plays and we're not just running plays. They understand on first down and second down and third down and fourth down what the objective is. How is third down different, in a 2-minute situation than it is in normal situations? Well, because third down really becomes second down in a 2-minute situation to win the game, because you're going to go for it on fourth down. Those types of things. So making sure our guys understand the big picture. Spend a lot of time talking about situational football. We've gone through as a staff and said, here are all the things that we want to talk about. These are all football things that we want to talk about. Here's things outside of football. Drugs, alcohol, healthy relationships, all these different things. There never should be a time that we break our meeting early because we've gotten the install done. So at the end of that meeting, we got a list of topics that we should be covering with our guys outside of football or football-specific situations, big picture. So we get done the install for that day. You got an extra 10 minutes, and let's make sure throughout the year we've covered all these different topics that we have a responsibility to educate our players on. Obviously, we got to find a two deep that we can win with, a D tackle that we feel really good about. Obviously we had some early departures, some that we knew about and some that we weren't completely sure how it was going to play out. When we say two deep at D tackle, the way we typically look at that is 5 guys. We feel like you really need to feel like you got 5 guys that you can play with at that position. But maybe that 4th and 5th guy are guys that you feel like, come the 4th game of the year, they need to be really ready to play and continue to develop. But that needs to happen at D tackle. Safety, same thing. We got to answer some questions at 2 deep at the safety position, and I'd say the same thing at wide receiver. We got to speed up the maturation process with a lot of these guys at those positions. We got to continue to develop them all. There's no doubt about it. But I would say those are the areas of emphasis for us as a program, as coaches, and as players, that we need to figure those things out sooner rather than later. A couple other things that I cover with you. Again, we kind of talked about returning starters. We have 5 offensive returning starters the way Chris calculates it. But again, in our eyes, we look at Jahan Dotson as a returning starter. We look at Mac Hippenhammer as a returning starter. We look at Mike Miranda as a returning starter. Cam Sullivan. Those guys play a lot of football for us. Same thing on defense. We've got 6 returning starters. You guys know who they are. I won't go through those. That's not hard to figure out. But then we have 5 other guys that we would consider starters that don't necessarily meet the data requirements that Chris comes up with. Tariq Castro Fields, I think it's hard to not consider him a starter. Fred Hansard, Micah Parsons, again, let us tackle. Antonio Shelton, I think we would all view as a starter in a lot of ways, and Jonathan Sutherland. Those guys have played a lot of football for us. So, feel really good about that. Just a couple other things I want to hit with you, and then I'll be quiet and take some questions. We have our women's clinic, which is really exploded. We haven't even advertised the clinic. We just put it up on our website, and it's up over 350 people have already pre-registered for. That's turned into one of our bigger events of the year, and really a cool event that we take a lot of pride in. Had a lot of fun with that. But that thing is really blowing up. And then just a couple things that I would say about perspective and the narrative out there. We're tied for 9th in the country in terms of FBS winning percentage over the last 3 years. We're very proud of that. Very proud of that. Obviously, we got a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of areas that we can improve. But I think that's something we're really proud of. And then another stat. If you look at the college football rankings, which I think is really kind of shifted over the last couple of years, probably being the most important form of rankings that everybody's focused on now, the way college football has changed. There's 6 teams that in the last 3 years have finished in the top 15 of the college football playoffs, and that is Penn State, that is Alabama, that's Clemson, that's that's Ohio State, that's Washington, and that's Oklahoma. That's a pretty good group to be associated with over a 3-year period of time. So we're very proud of that. So got a lot of work to do. Got a lot of work to do in a lot of different areas. But once again, I want to thank you guys for being here and coming out and covering Penn State football. Happy to open it up to questions.
Raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you.
Hey James, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, last year you talked a lot about Micah and saying there were areas that he really had to develop outside of just football. How has he come along football-wise and those areas that you were hoping that he would kind of address as a young guy?
Yeah, I think we're all growing. Let me start by saying that I think you better have a growth mindset the rest of your life. As coaches, as players, all of us, you need to be constantly growing and trying to get better and evolve. That's as football players, that's as football coaches, that's as students, that's as parents, that is as brothers, dads, whatever it may be. You need to be getting better. All of it. Dealing with the media, every area. And I think Micah is like that. I think early on, obviously, we knew Micah was extremely talented. But when you're asking a guy to play a different position than he played in high school naturally, that was going to take some time to do that. Obviously, extremely talented, but from a fundamental standpoint, he had some things to catch up on. And then all the stuff away from the field, he's been phenomenal. He really has. He's been phenomenal, and I say that for all our guys. I think last semester, I think he got a 3.56. I think that's the last 2 semesters. He's done extremely well. He's very coachable. He's got a very strong relationship with the coaches. He's in my office all the time. He's in Pry's office all the time. We do workouts. He's mad when he's not chose to compete. I think he came in here as such a high-profile guy that I think some people had a perspective about who and what he was going to be. And our guys on the team love him. He's been a great teammate. I've gotten really good feedback from different things that we've had on campus, from professors, from different trainings that we do with the freshmen. A lot of different things. I've been very impressed. We've got a very close relationship with mom and dad and his high school coach, which I think is helpful as well, because we're kind of all in this journey together. It takes a village. But I think he's doing a really good job, and I think that was a big reason for us not starting him last year. We just wanted to take kind of some of that pressure off him. There's already enough pressure on these guys, especially the high-profile guys. I've been very pleased with him, but it's a work in progress for all. As you know, I got 120 18 to 22-year-old males plus 2 daughters. They're getting older every single day, which scares the heck out of me. We went bowling on Sunday, and my daughter took the ponytails out and got her hair straightened and blown out, and it scared the hell out of me, to be honest with you. My daughters are growing up, but I got 102 kids that I'm responsible for, and I'm very proud of what they're all doing, all of them. It was pretty cool yesterday. A bunch of the guys came back for pro day, and we're all in the facility. Trace is there, and Nick Scott's there, John Thomas. A bunch of guys are back for pro day, and Nick Scott goes, "Hey, is it okay if I go see Addie at school?" So it's really cool, and there's some of the cultural things that we've built from a family perspective that I'm really proud of. I really am. But I know that was a long answer, but I'm proud of Micah. I'm proud of all of our guys. It's not always perfect, but I see tremendous progress being made.
James, you said in the past that it's tough to evaluate the safety position in the spring, especially early, given the lack of hitting. But what are your thoughts on that group as you look to replace Nick? And then with Jonathan, do you see him as a guy who will contend for that spot, or are you going to keep him more as a box safety like Garrett?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think we got a group of guys that we feel good about. The way we have it right now at free safety, we got Taylor, Sutherland, Neff, and Romano at that position. The way we have those guys ranked, and then at the strong safety, which for us is really like the field safety, the boundary safety, and the field safety. You got Wade, Patrician, Rudolph, and Hartloff. But as you know, they're moving parts. So if you're the backup at the 1, but you're one of our 2 best safeties, we'll move it around and plug and play. But I think you are right. There's some aspects where we like to drop one safety into the box more and play to their strengths. That's something that Sutherland does extremely well. And I think like all of them, and all of us, there's strengths and there's weaknesses. And we're trying to play to their strengths as much as we can, but also work and groom and help them grow with their weaknesses. So we're really excited about what Wade's done, this offseason. Really excited about what Patrician has done. He's healthy probably for the first time in his career over a length of time. And Sutherland just continues to show up and make plays in a lot of different areas on defense, especially. So it's going to be great competition. You got Rudolph, who came in here mid-semester, so I'll be interested to see what he does as well. So we feel good about the group. And then we still got Brisker coming in, who blows me up constantly. I mean, he is, during the national championship game, he's sending me messages. Same thing with me, Coach Pry, and Coach Banks. I got a message from him yesterday morning, his workout videos. He's excited that he's coming up this weekend to be around it as much as he possibly can. So we've got to feel like we've got a good group, but obviously we've got to answer some questions.
James, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, doing well. Your first.
How was Europe? Is that where you went?
He was Mr. Europe. I went down to Cuba.
Oh yeah, you were in Cuba.
Felt like a whole different world.
I saw that. The old cars.
It was good.
Where'd you go?
London, Edinburgh, and Liverpool.
Good for you. Have you talked to, do you know Blake Newstock? You talked to Blake, our video guy. He did the same thing. He went and saw a Manchester U game,
Okay.
France, I think.
Yeah, I'm a Liverpool fan, so.
Well, now that we're all back.
Back to Cuba.
Beautiful State College. This is your first spring camp that you've gone to with redshirt freshmen who have actually played games. Curious on your evaluation assessment of what that does for player personnel through one season of that new rule, and if you have any particular adjustments that you may make to your approach in 2019 with the redshirt rule.
Yeah, I think you got a couple different things. I think, college football right now is, I think, at a really interesting time in our history. A lot of the different things that are being discussed nationally, a lot of the court rulings, a lot of the NCAA rule changes. It has really changed a lot of different things for us. All these guys, you see them commit and they say, which I get it, but a lot of these guys commit, they say, I'm going to be at Penn State for 3 to 5 years. I mean, I get it. I want all these guys to be able to chase their dreams in the NFL, but I'm still a huge believer of the student athlete and our model, and it should be about getting an education first, and then also being able to chase their dreams at the highest level. We want that from as well, but my point is that's always the hard balance now is, do you play a guy as a true freshman? Because if you don't and you redshirt them, you may not have them for that 5th year. So did that make sense? I think the 4 games really help. I think the 4 games really help because maybe a guy can gain some experience or it saves you late in the season for injuries and things like that. I do think there's some flexibility that is created for us, specifically with the redshirt guys. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I think, for example, with Rasheed Walker, I think obviously he feels a lot different and we feel a lot different now. Although he redshirted, he got some game experience. So there's tremendous value in that. And I think, there's a number of guys like that. So we'll see. I do think it creates confidence for those players. But I do think there's a lot of dynamics right now, in college football, and probably specifically in our program, because we've improved dramatically in such a short period of time, especially on the way probably people nationally viewed our program 6 years ago, and then also the way recruiting has changed dramatically. That really changes how you have to manage your roster and your team. I think it's helpful. There's no doubt about it, but there's also some challenges that come with it too.
You've lost some very strong leadership the last 2 years. Now with Trace gone, where do you expect that leadership to come with this young team?
I think it's early to say that. I don't think there's any doubt about that. What I would say to you is I do think one of the things that I know I want to do this year and moving forward, we'd always gone with 2 captains on offense, 2 captains on defense, 2 captains on special teams. Talking to the team in our off-season studies and conversations, we only had 3 captains last year. And I know that's a model that a lot of people use, but I feel like we need more. We need more of that strong leadership, more captains, more players that can relate to more captains. You're going to have some guys that relate to some groups, and we got a diverse team. So I think that's going to be important. If we have the ability to go back to 2 captains on offense, defense, and special teams, I think there's a lot of value there. Right now, obviously, Fries is playing a lot of football for us. Mennett has played a lot of football for us. Gonzalez has played a lot of football for us. Those guys are going to have to bring a lot of leadership value to our team. I think a combination of Freiermuth, although he's young, he's played a lot of football for us, and Bowers are going to need to do it. And then at the quarterback position, you always need it there. So having obviously guys like Stevens, it always is going to start with your quarterback position. And Clifford are 2 guys that have played a lot of football, been around a lot of football, been a part of the program, understand the expectations and the standards. And then I think the guy who probably has as much energy and can affect people in such a positive way as KJ Hamler. I think we all know you spend 5 minutes with KJ or his mom, they affect the room in a positive way. They walk in a room, they bright up the room with their energy and their charisma and the substance behind it as well. So, but we're going to have to develop it, because we are going to be young, but we're going to be talented.
Hey, James.
How are we doing? Good. How are we good?
When you've got guys like Sean and Tommy that have been in the building for a long time, obviously you know them, but is there still sort of not a reset, but a recalibration of that relationship when you know one of them is going to be your starter? And by my count, this is the 5th time you've had a new quarterback going into the season. What have you sort of learned about that first year with a guy, those first couple of weeks of the guy?
You talking about in my head coaching career? Yes, sir. I think in general, as a program, you better approach it that way every single year with your whole program. You can't just say, well, we're back and we're going to build on what we did last year. You got to rebuild it from the ground up every single year. But your point specifically with quarterbacks, I don't think there's any doubt about it. When you got a guy like Trace that started and played at such a high level for such a long time, that's a big transition. I don't think there's any doubt about it. The interesting thing is you got Tommy Stevens, who really 2 years ago did so many great and exciting things that everybody was buzzing about Tommy. And as you guys kind of know some of the details, Tommy played through a fairly significant injury all last year, which affected him. So that, in some ways, was a blessing in disguise for Sean, because then Sean was able to gain some experience and did some really good things for us. But I don't think there's any doubt about it. As a coaching staff and as a program and as those guys, I think Tommy understands, hey, I got to step into this role now. I have a responsibility not only to run the offense and to lead the offense, and understand that Trace had instant credibility with our team from what he had done the previous years. Tommy understands it's his turn now to step up. Sean feels that way, and I also don't want to exclude Levis. Levis is a guy that we think is extremely talented, and he's got to step up into it. So, I think we're going to have really good competition in a lot of positions, but we will be inexperienced and young at some positions as well. And what I don't want to do, and I don't want, because I know our players listen to these press conferences and things, that's who we are. We embrace it, we accept it, and we're going to maximize this opportunity. And does experience count? Yes, it does. But I know there's a lot of excitement on our team and in our locker room and our offices about what we're going to be able to do.
James, with Tommy not being at the bowl game, just to clarify, will he be able to participate in the spring?
He will be able to participate. I don't know if it's going to be full go. We have again, I think when you guys ask me those questions, sometimes you think I'm not answering, but sometimes it's day to day. We're dealing with our own doctors and trainers on campus, but we're also dealing, he had the surgery off campus, so we're communicating with his doctor as well and trying to get everybody on the same page. So at this point, he'll be limited for the beginning of spring, and depending how spring goes and how he's doing, it could be full go by the end of spring, but I'm not sure of that yet.
And also, you mentioned some departures, and it seems like you've had a lot of staff turnover, support staff as well. Have you ever dealt with this much change? Do you think you're good at dealing with change?
Yeah, I think this is college football. I think we have dealt with this pretty much every year since we've been here. I dealt with this at previous institution as well. Sometimes, obviously, you have it more than others, but for us, I'm excited for those guys. We got men and women that are getting promotions and having opportunities to take the next step in their careers, which is also part of my responsibility. Part of my responsibility is to not only help our players become the best students they possibly could be and have the best football experience and grow, as young people, but it's also for my staff. And to me, that's a tremendous compliment to our program and to our university. That guys are able to come through, they're able to gain experience, and able to take the next steps in their career. So, selfishly, what I love for these guys to stay at Penn State and retire and watch their goatees get grayer at each press conference each year like mine is, yeah, I'd love for everybody to stay at Penn State forever, but that's just not the reality of our industry anymore. So I think we got to work really hard, administration as well as coaches, to create a situation here where people don't feel like they have to leave, that there's opportunities for growth. But then there's also going to be some times where people are going to have to move on, and hopefully we can bring them back at another point. So, to me, it's the nature of our industry now, and we're going to embrace it, and we're going to make the best of it, and we're going to be prepared for when those times come. But I also want to make sure that when people do have those opportunities, that we make it difficult for them to leave and make it a challenging, at least, conversation.
How you doing, Coach?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Hey, another timing question for you here. Given this era, like with player mobility, they should have a transfer portal, et cetera, do you kind of have a newfound appreciation for Tommy and his willingness to stay and, kind of wait his turn?
Yeah, I think, I wouldn't say newfound appreciation, because I think really what's happened with the transfer portal has been going on with quarterbacks for a while. Would you agree with that? I mean, that's been kind of the nature of the quarterback position for a while now. So I think when Tommy decided to stay, I think you guys know that was a big deal for us. Not just about him as a player, but also the relationship that we have with his high school coach, his parents, and him. That it worked out, and I think what we all hope is at the end of the day it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win for Tommy and his family, and it's a win for Penn State. That's what you're trying to create in life, is as many win-win situations as you possibly can. And then obviously, maybe, I think I said this to you guys before, maybe the greatest tweet of all time that he sent out, when he was staying with, I think it was the Wolf of Wall Street deal he tweeted out, which I thought was awesome. I don't know, based on your expression, I'd say something you like it. But yeah, I don't know if that necessarily is different. I think your point, with the situation we're in, I will tell you this, that we had a long discussion as a staff, I'm talking about months, and had a long discussion with the Leadership Council about the transfer portal. I wanted to hear their perspective, how our players saw it, which I think a lot of players across the country think it's the greatest thing that's ever happened since peanut butter jelly sandwiches. I think coaches understand the need for it, but also maybe have a different perspective. So I think it's always great to get in a room and have healthy discussion and dialogue and hear their perspective, but also have them understand an administrator's perspective or a coach's perspective and how to manage the roster, and how can we come up with a plan that maybe there's some compromise on both sides about how we're going to deal with this moving forward. I've talked to a lot of coaches all over the country about how they're handling, and I think that's one of the bigger challenges with it, is the way it has been dealt with by the NCAA. Each school has their own way of dealing with it, which can be problematic because now you kind of set up a policy at your school and their buddies at another school, they're handling it different there. And well, how come they're, well, each school is unique and each school is sophisticated. You know, I think we're in a good place now. We've learned a lot going through it for the first time, like a lot of people across the country has. I've been able to lean on other coaches and call them and see how they're handling with it. And it is as wide range as you possibly could imagine in how different programs are dealing with it. But once again, it's where we're at. You better embrace it and you better move forward. I think the other thing on the other end that's challenging with it is, and a lot of schools are struggling with this too, is it's one thing to have your normal policies of how you accept kids from high school, but now this is spiking the transfer process. And how does your university handle the transfer policy, undergrad and grad school? What you're going to see across the country is you're going to see a larger number of transfers at schools that maybe haven't done that. But again, you're going to have to, and there's a new model. So that's created a lot of discussion for us with our administration and our university. How are we going to handle this moving forward? Because the model has changed, and we're going to have to change with it too.
Time for 2 more. We'll start with Dave.
James, what did Lamont Wade tell you about his reasons for entering the portal? And was there ever a time when you thought there was a serious chance of him leaving?
Yeah, I think for all these guys, you know, I think the transfer portal created an opportunity for guys to look around and make sure that they feel like they're in the best situation possible for them and their family. For me, again, maybe different than the way a lot of college football programs are conducting themselves. Now, not all, but a decent amount. I'm always going to start with the education. So where are you at in terms of your Penn State degree? Then where are you at in terms of your football career? Then what are your goals and objectives? Kind of in that order. So I kind of approach it that way with all of them. Again, I think a big part of this is had a lot of conversations with Lamont's mom, had a lot of conversations with Lamont's dad, had a lot of conversations with Lamont. And we were able to get, you know, to a good place. But again, it's based on that. Where are you at academically? I think that's one of our other positives is that we graduate so many of our players early based on summer school and how our guys attack their educational experience here. But also that's created some problems because if you look at a lot of our guys that did leave, they'd already got their degrees. So it wasn't even necessarily a transfer portal situation. It got clumped in there. It was more back to the graduate transfer rule that we spent a lot of times dealing with. So yeah, I think this new rule kind of had everybody in the country kind of say, let me take a moment and kind of look at this thing and make sure it's the right thing for myself and my family moving forward. But we're always going to kind of address it that way. Academics first, and then obviously their current career on campus from a football perspective, and then also what are they really trying to achieve down the road. And we want to help them to do that in every area. I hope it's at Penn State forever. No different than we say during the recruiting process. Once they commit, we're engaged. Once they sign, we're married, and there's no divorce. And I even hope even in the guys that do decide to transfer that I'll still be a part of their life and helping them down the road. And they're not easy conversations to have, but I would hope that our relationship is a lot stronger than that, and that they know that ultimately, at the end of the day, what I care about is I care about Penn State's success, the university, the community, all those types of things, and most importantly, I care about these guys' success, you know, their success individually, but also collectively.
Hey James, what do you want to see from the running backs this spring as you kind of go through the changing of the guard there? And is Ricky at the top of the depth chart, or how do you kind of see that for, you know, first day of spring?
I think he's probably slashed. Ricky's done some really nice things. I think Journey's also a guy that we have been really excited about since the high school process. When he rushed for over 700 yards and 10 touchdowns in a game. I would not be upset if he did that for us at some point this year or in his career. But again, one of the things that we spend a lot of time talking to our players about is our players put so much pressure on themselves about their timeline. So what I mean by that is they all think they're going to come in and play as true freshmen, and it's going to go wonderful, and they're going to be in NFL the first year they're able to. There's the other end of the story, like Troy Apke doesn't start till his senior year, has an unbelievable senior year, he's starting for the Raiders, runs 4.3 to combine. And I think our guys put way too much pressure on themselves that, everybody's journey and everybody's path is different. Some guys have to go East Stroudsburg, Kutztown, to James Madison, to Idaho State to get to Penn State. Some guys have to be like Troy Apke. Some guys are going to start as true freshmen and go like that. But I think patience is such an important part of this. And as long as you're getting better, and as long as you got a great attitude, and you're waking up every single morning, attacking the day with everything you got, academically, athletically, socially, it's gonna, at some point, it's gonna happen for you. And I think that's Journey. Journey's always really talented, but now a lot of these other things are falling into place to allow him to play with the confidence and the speed. I mean, I think you guys know this. We talked about, I think he broke Leroy Burrell's record in the state of Pennsylvania, who went on and won a gold medal. I mean, the guy's got ability, but all the other things are falling into place for him now that you're starting to see those things. His confidence, his understanding of what we're trying to do and why. So, those two guys, I think, are both in a really good spot to go out and compete their tails off. I feel really good about those two guys. And then obviously, you got Kane and you got Holmes, who we're also very excited about what they're going to be able to do. Yuri's done a tremendous job for us. And then we got another one coming in moving forward. So we've created really good competition at that position. We're going to probably need them all, and we also want to see more of our offensive players having a bigger impact on special teams than we've had in the past. We got way too many athletes and way too many good players for them not impacting in every possible aspect they can.
Thank you very much, Coach. We'll be joined by Coach Lori K. momentarily.
Awesome.
Thank you.